The Berenstain Bears. This way to bear country. You'll know when you're as soon as you enter, you'll feel like a bear. Down a sunny dirt road, over a long bridge, up a grassy hill, deep in bear country lived a family of bears, Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Smart Bear. They lived in a large tree which Papa Bear had hollowed out and made into a house. It was a very fine house. This is what it looked like inside: a bedroom, a kitchen, another bedroom, and a fireplace. It was fun growing up in bear country, helping Papa get honey from the old bee tree, helping Mama bring the vegetables in from the garden. There was all sorts of interesting things for a smart bear to do and see in bear country: follow butterfly fish, swim with the fish, see the spiders, climb the tree in a canoe, and fly a kite. Smart Bears felt good growing up in a tree, in his own room, in the snug little bed that Papa Bear had made for him when he was a baby. But one morning it did not feel so good. Smart Bear woke up with pains in his knees and aches in his legs. Smart Bear, you have outgrown your little bed, said Papa Bear as he hitched up his overalls and buttoned his shoulder straps. Today we shall go out in the woods and make you a bigger one. With that, he ate his breakfast of piping hot porridge, washed it down with a gulp of honey from the family honey pot, took up his axe, and was out the door. But Papa caught Smart Bear, following after him. What will happen to my little bed? Don't worry about it, Smart Bear, said Mama Bear. As she closed the door after him, she smiled and patted her front, which had lately grown very big and round. You've outgrown that snug little bed just in time. What will happen to my little bed? Smart Bear asked as he caught up with Papa Bear, but Papa was sharpening his axe on his grinding stone and didn't hear. Yes, indeed, said Papa Bear. You need a bed you can stretch out in. A bed that will not give you pains in your knees and aches in your legs. He tested the axe to see if it was sharp, then headed off into the woods. What will happen to my little bed? Smart Bear asked again as he caught up with Papa Bear in the woods. Papa had chopped down a tree and was splitting it into boards. We will have a new baby soon who will need that little bed, said Papa Bear as he whacked off another board. A new baby? Asked Smart Bear. He hadn't noticed that Mama Bear had grown very round lately, although he had noticed it was harder and harder to sit on her lap. And it's coming soon. Yes, very soon, said Papa Bear. With final whack, he split off the last board, which gave him enough wood to make a bigger bed for a Smart Bear. They made the bed a good size and took the rest of the day to chip and shave smooth and neat. Then they carried it back to the tree and up the Smart Bear's room. When they got there, Smart Bear noticed right away that his old bed wasn't there anymore. "My little bed," said Smart Bear. "It's already gone." "You outgrew it just in time," called Mama Bear from the next room. "Come and see." It was true. There was his snug little bed with a little baby in it. Smart Bear had outgrown his snug little bed just in time for his new baby sister, and now he was a big brother. She was very little but very lively. As Smart Bear leaned over for a close look, she popped him on the nose with a tiny fist. Said Smart Bear. "She has a pretty good punch for a little baby." That night, he stretched out proudly in his bigger bed. "Ah," he said, "being a big brother is going to be fun." The next morning, he woke up feeling fine, with no pains in his knees or aches in his legs. His nose was a little tender, though. The Berenstain Bears and the sitter. "Mom and Dad are going out. Gramps and Gran are too. Who will stay home with the cubs? Just anyone won't do." "What's this?" said Papa Bear as he took the day's mail from the Bear's family mailbox. It was a notice telling about an important meeting that night at Bear Country Town Hall. "Important meeting tonight." Mama Bear caught a grizzly Gran. Brother and sister Bear sometimes stay with Gran when Mama and Papa had to be away. But Gramps and Gran were planning to go to the meeting too, so brother and sister couldn't stay with them. Important meeting tonight. Or with Aunt Maid or Cousin Wilbur. They were going to the meeting too. "Why can't we go with you?" asked sister, begging to get a little upset. "Yeah," added Brother Bear. "Because," said Papa, "this meeting is for grown-ups, and besides, it won't be over until late, way past your bedtime." "Where are we going to stay?" the cubs wanted to know. "You're going to stay right here," said Mama, as she put down the phone. "Alone?" said sister. "Of course not," said Mama. I've arranged for a sitter." "A sitter?" said brother. Who is it going to be?" sister asked. "Mrs. Grizzle lives in the hollow stump at the end of the road," said Mama, feeling much better about the whole thing. "Miss Grizzle," said the cubs, not feeling better at all. Once, when sister was playing with her friends, their bar went into Mrs. Grizzle's flower garden. Mrs. Grizzle wasn't too happy about it. And another time, when brother was flying his kite, he swooped and bumped Mrs. Grizzle on the head. She wasn't too tickled about that either. Later that evening, after the supper things had been cleaned up, Mama and Papa got ready to go to the town meeting. "But who's going to scrub our backs, read us a story, and tuck us in?" said sister, still a little nervous about the idea of a sister. "I understand that Mrs. Grizzle has raised 7 cubs of her own," said Mama, putting on her hat. "And I'm sure she's a perfectly good back scrubber, story reader, and tucker inner." "She's not going to scrub my back," Brother Bear said under his breath. Mrs. Grizzle came walking up the path to the bear's treehouse right on time. There was no question about it. It was the same Mrs. Grizzle who got bopped with the kite and didn't like cubs tramping her flowers. She was very large, almost as big as Papa, and she carried a brown drawstring bag. "Even now," said Mrs. Grizzle in the loud, jolly voice, "we're time wasting you two," she said to Mama and Papa. "You better skitter off to your meeting." Mrs. Grizzle had a strong way of saying things, and folks usually did what she said. Mama and Papa kissed the cubs good night and scattered. "Phew," said Mrs. Grizzle as she sat down in Papa's big chair. "It sure is good to get a load of your feet." She took off her hat and looked into her drawstring bag. "There's something about somebody looking into a bag that makes cubs very curious." "Mrs. Grizzle," said Sister. "Yes, what's in that bag?" "Nothing much, just some things I take along when I go sitting. A piece of string, a pack of cards." Meanwhile, over at the town hall, the bears were getting ready for their important meeting. They were getting ready for speeches, voting, and arguments about some new laws. But Mama's mind was not on the meeting. Neither was Papa's. Mama and Papa Bear were thinking about what was going on back home. Sister looked a little worried when we left, threatened Mama. "So did Brother," agreed Papa. They decided to car home and see how things were going. "Things are going just fine," said Mrs. Grizzle. "Brother and Sister can't come to the phone right now. They're busy playing cat's cradle." "Have a good meeting," shouted the cubs. But they say to have a good meeting. After cat's cradle, they played go fish with the cards that came out of Mrs. Grizzle's drawstring bag. Then they played tiddly-winkles with a special set of rings that Mrs. Grizzle had made out of polished stones and the snail shell cup. After a while, the cubs got the yawns, and Mrs. Grizzle began getting them ready for bed. And she did indeed turn out to be a very good bag scrubber. Brother changed his mind about not having his bag scrubbed. And she was a fine story reader and a really super tucker inner. "I hope Mama and Papa had a good meeting," said Sister with a yawn, "because we had a very good sit." The cubs had a number of different sitters from time to time, but Mrs. Grizzle was their favorite, and they were always glad to see her. The bursting birds in the dark. Being afraid of the dark doesn't just happen to you. It mustn't happen sometimes to little bears too. "Brother Bear," said Sister impatiently, "you're going to take all day to pick your books." Sister and Brother Bear were out Bear Country at the Bear Country Library. Sister had already chosen her books and was waiting at the checkout desks. "Hold your horses," said Brother. "I'm looking for a good mystery." Club Corners Mysteries. Out in. Sister Bird usually took out storybooks and books about nature, and sometimes books about poems. Brother liked those too, but lately he had become interested in mystery, especially spooky ones. Hey, this one looks good, he said finally. Okay, let's check out. Said sister, looking at the corner. It was called Case of the Crying Cave. It looks scary to me. Say, this is really good, said brother later that evening when the bear family had settled down for some reading. Would you like me to read it to you? He asked sister. Sister was looking at a storybook about 3 kittens who were arguing about which was the prettiest, and it was a little boring. Or are you scared? Said brother. Of course not, said sister. She left her book on the floor and climbed into the bench to sit beside him. The mystery began quietly. It told about some Bear Scouts who were on an overnight camp out. When the Scouts discovered a dark, secret cave, Brother's mystery began to get a little exciting. And when the cave began to cry and wail, it was anything but quiet. Woo! Quite a deep bark of the dark mysterious cave, read brother, and with a lot of expression. Ooh, stop, said sister, putting her fingers in her ears. That's enough. And she went back to her storybook. Scaredy bear, teased brother. And that's quite enough of that, added Papa Bear, looking up from his paper. At night, at the cubs' bedtime, Papa and Mama said good night, turned off the lights, and left the cubs in the usual sleepy darkness. Outside the treehouse was the bright, busy sound of day had given way to the soft, soothing sound of night, the quiet conversation of frogs and toads, a soft cry of an owl, the sigh of the night wind. And if you listen very hard, you can almost hear the softest sound of all, the sound of lightning bugs switching their lights on and off. But inside the treehouse, Sister Bear wasn't even beginning to fall asleep. That night, the dark didn't seem the least quiet and sleepy. In fact, it seemed like a spooky darkness of a scary cave. And the funny clothes tree that Papa had made didn't seem so friendly and funny. They seemed more like cave creatures. So when Brother decided to tease her a little more by making a wailing noise, a really spooky wailing noise, it gave her quite a scare. Mama, Papa, she said, hurry, come quickly. And so come quickly they did. Papa rushed into the dark room and tripped over the clothes tree. Mama rushed in after Papa and tripped over him. The commotion sister fell out of bed and landed on both of them. Then Brother, who had started it all with a spooky wail, turned on the light. What a mess. Sister, still scared, was holding on to Papa. Papa was holding on to the toe and he had stepped. And Mama was looking for the nightcap she had lost. In the confusion. All 3 of them were pretty annoyed with Brother Bear. It turned out to be a very long night in the bear's tree house. Papa and Mama tried to explain that there was nothing to be afraid of in the dark, except maybe running into a clothes tree and stubbing your toe. But it didn't do any good. Sister absolutely refused to go to sleep with the lights off, and Brother positively insisted that he couldn't fall asleep with the lights on. The next morning, the bear family was very sleepy-eyed. "Boy," said Brother, yawning, "I sure didn't want to go through another night like that." "Neither did I," said Papa, "and I think I have an idea that might help." He took Sister's hand. "Come with me," he said. "Where are we going?" she wanted to know. "Up the attic." "The attic? But it's dark in the attic, even in the daytime." "I know," said Papa, "but there are something I want to show you. Anyway, there are nothing so special about the dark. It's just part of nature, like light. It's your imagination that makes the dark seem spooky sometimes." "What's imagination?" asked Sister. "Imagination is what makes us think the chests of drawers and clothes trees are cave creatures." "I wish I didn't have one," said Sister. "Don't say that," said Papa. "A lively imagination is one of the best things a cub can have. It's imagination that lets us paint pictures, make up poems, invent inventions. The trick is to take charge of your imagination and not let it take charge of you." When they got to the attic, Papa began to rummage through the boxes, looking for something. Sister tried to follow Papa's advice and not let her imagination take charge. And it worked. A spooky shape turned out to be the shadows of some old toads. What looked like a giant was really some piled up furniture. "Here it is," said Papa, "my old nightlight. The one I used when I was a cub and had a little trouble falling asleep in the dark." Sister couldn't quite believe that her big, powerful Papa was afraid of the dark. Sister couldn't quite believe that her big, powerful Papa was ever afraid of the dark. "Oh, sure," said Papa. "Most of us are at one time or another." "How about reading the rest of the case of the Crying Cave?" Sister asked Brother later that day. "Are you sure you want me to?" "Sure. I want to see how it turns out," she insisted. When it turned out that there was nothing very spooky about the terrible wailing noises, it was caused by wind blowing across an opening in the roof of the caves, like the noises you make when you blow across the top of a butter. Sister was a little disappointed. "I don't understand," said Bear Scout Fred. "I'll show you," said Bear Scout Ted. "It's like when you blow across the top of a butter." That night, when she and Brother were all settled down in the cozy glow of Papa's old nightlight, she said so. I was pretty disappointed by the way the case of the Crying Cave ended. "Why?" asked Brother. "Because," she said, "I was hoping wailing sound be a VR spooky scary monster." And she leaned down from the bunk over Brother and made a spooky scary monster face at it. "Cut that out!" cried Brother. Then Sister went right to sleep. But Brother lay awake for quite some time, listening to an owl hoots and thinking that maybe he'd had enough mysteries for a while. The Berenstain Bears, go to the doctor, take a deep breath, stick out your tongue, come see Dr. Grizzly while you are young. "Tomorrow," said Mama. as she helped the cubs get ready for bed. "You'll be going to doctor for a checkup." "Doctor," said Brother Bear, "you're not sick." "And what's a checkup?" asked Sister Bear, a little worried. "It's just what it sounds like," said Mama. "Dr. Grizzly will check to see if you're going the way healthy cubs should." "Richard?" asked Sister, pulling the covers up close. "Not now," said Papa, as he kissed her good night. "You just set her down. There's absolutely nothing to worry about." But Sister wasn't so sure. The next morning, after a good breakfast, the family got into their red rooster and were on their way. "Do you ever get checkups, Mama?" Sister asked as they drove along the dusty dirt road. "Yes, I do," answered Mama. "I don't need checkups anymore," said Papa, "because I never get sick." "That's quite a sneeze," said Mama. "It's this dirty, dusty road," said Papa, turning onto the main highway into Beartown. They pulled to a stop in front of the doctor's office. Come, cubs," said Mama. "We don't want to be late for our appointment." But Brother held back. He remembered something. "Are we going to get shots?" he asked. "That's up to it." "The doctor," said Papa, sneezing an even bigger sneeze than before. "Bless you," said Mama. "It's just this bright sunlight," said Papa. "I never get sick." The doctor's waiting room was a busy, cheerful place with pictures on the walls, books to look at, and puzzles to do. Brother started a puzzle. Sister took a book, but didn't really look at it. Other bears were coming in, and she looked around the room at them. There were cubs of all ages with their parents. Some of the smallest cubs looked a little worried. Sister smiled at them so they wouldn't be afraid. There was a big cub with a cast on his leg. It had names and funny rhymes all over it. He let Brother write his name on it for luck, and Sister drew a picture. There was even a little baby cub only a few weeks old. "Next," said Dr. Grizzly. It was Brothers and Sisters' turn. Dr. Grizzly was friendly, but she got right down to work. She had a lot of bears to take care of and not much time to waste. First, she weighed and measured the cubs. "Fine," she said. "You've both gained weight nicely and grown taller." She listened to their chests with a stethoscope and poked them all over to check on everything inside. Then Dr. Grizzly took each cub's temperature to see if it was normal. 98.6. They checked their throats. Then she looked at their eyes, ears, and noses with a special little light. Next, she tested their hearing by whispering very softly. Then came the eye test. Brother read every letter except the smallest. Sister didn't know all the letters yet, so she read a special chart that looks like this. "Very good," said the doctor as she studied some papers in a folder. Sister whispered to Brother, "So far it hasn't hurt at all." "Well, that pretty much takes care of it," said Dr. Grizzly, looking through her eyeglasses at the papers. "Except for one thing. You see, it's time for your booster shots." "I know it," said Brother. Why do you have to have shots? You're not even sick, said Sister. Now, Sister, said Papa. Doc. Achoo! Doctors know best. Bless you, said Dr. Grizzly. And that's a very good question, Sister. As she got the shots ready, she called out into the waiting room. I've got a brave little cub in here who's going to show us all how to take a shot. Getting back to your question, Sister, said Dr. Grizzly, you see, there are some kinds of medicine that would take after you get sick. And those are very useful. But this kind of sort is a special medicine that keeps you from getting sick. Will it hurt? Asked Sister. Not nearly as much as biting your tongue or bumping your shin, the doctor explained. There are then. Dr. Grizzly was right. And it happened so fast that Sister didn't even have time to say ouch. The little cubs who were watching were very impressed. So was Brother. After Brother's shot, Papa said, "Well, Doctor, we'll be going now." Just a minute, Papa Bear, said Dr. Grizzly. Let me have a look at you. But I never get sick, Papa started to say. Temperature above normal. Throat red. Nose all stuffed. Time for your medicine, Papa, said the cubs, offering him a big spoonful of gooey pink stuff that Dr. Grizzly prescribed for his cold. Wow, said Papa, smiling weakly. I hardly ever get sick. The Berenstain Bears and the messy room. When smart bears forget to pick up stores and stash, some of their favorite things end up in the trash. From the outside, the bear's treehouse, which stood beside a sunny dirt road deep in bear country, looked very neat and well kept. The flower beds sparkled with red, yellow, and blue tulips. The woodworks was freshly painted and in good repair. The grasses was cut and the vegetable patch was properly weeded. Even the bird's nest that perched on one of the treehouse branches was well trimmed. The inside of the bear's treehouse was neat and clean too. The pictures were straight, the piano was dusted, the kitchen was spick and span. Even the basement was neat and clean. And if you think it's easy to keep a treehouse basement neat and clean, well, you've never tried to do it. Yes, the bear's treehouse was a lesson in neatness and cleanliness, except for one place, Brother Bear and Sister Bear's room. It was a mess. Closet opened at your own risk. A dust-catching wall-to-wall helter-skelter mess. A half-dozen jigsaw puzzle gathered dust in the corner of the room. A group of brothers' dinosaur models collected cobwebs in another. Sister's stuffed animals were everywhere. As for the cub's big storage closet, well, just be careful how you open it. It wasn't that brother and sister were naturally messy. They tried to keep their room straight. They made their beds most of the times. And they swept and picked up once in a while. The trouble was that when cleanup time came, they spent more time arguing than cleaning. How am I supposed to sweep you with your dumb things or toys all over the floor? Argued Sister. They're not toys, they're models. And don't move them. I'm working on a setup of the Pleistocene age. Brother protested. Pleistocene age. Schmastocian, said his sister. Not only was brother and sister's room a mess, but brother and sister was getting to be a mess too, always arguing about cleanup chores instead of sharing the jobs and working as a team. What usually happened was that while the cubs argued about whose turn was it to do what, Mama took the broom and did the sweeping herself. And she often did the picking up too. That was the worst part, the picking up and the putting away. Well, the mess just seemed to build up until one day, maybe it was because Mama's bag was a little stiff, or maybe it was stepping on brother's airplane's mint, or maybe she was just fed up with that messy room. But whatever it was, Mama Bear lost her temper. She stormed into the cubs' rooms with a big box. The first thing we have to do is get rid of all this junk, she said. Junk, said brother and sister, watching it in horror as Mama began to throw things into the box. My teddy isn't junk, screamed sister. My bird nest collection isn't junk, yelled brother at the top of his lungs. The screaming and yelling got so loud that it reached Papa, who was in his workshop putting the finishing touches on a batch of chairs that had been ordered by one of his customers. He couldn't imagine what was wrong. He hurried up the stairs and looked into the messy, noisy room. It didn't take a deep thinker to figure out what was going on. Quiet! Papa got Mama and the cubs' attention and called a family meeting right then and there. Now, the mess has really built up in this room, he said. In fact, it's the worst case of messy build-up I ever seen. And it isn't fair, he continued. It isn't fair to your Mama and me, because we have a lot of other things to take care of. And it isn't fair to you, because you really can't have fun or relax in a room that's such a terrible mess. But Mama is putting all my things into that box. Even my teddy, said sister. And my things too, said brother. Then Papa got an idea. A box, yes, he said. Better yet, a lot of different kinds of boxes. A big toy box for your large toys. I can make one for you in my shop. And some smaller boxes for your collections and models. And how about one of those boards and holes to pegs to hang things on, said sister. A pegboard, said Papa. Great idea. All this room needs is a little organization. A little organization and a few rules, added Mama. Rules about more sweeping and less arguing. About not leaving things to gather dust. And cobwebs. Papa set to work making a fine big toy box and a large pegboard. While the cubs and Mama sorted out toys, books, games, and puzzles, and put them in boxes that fit neatly into the closet. Every box was clearly labeled. Some of the cubs' things did end up in Mama's big throwaway box. Not Sister's teddy, of course, but some of Brother's bird nests. The crumbling, falling apart ones. It was a big job cleaning up all that messy buildup, but after a lot of straightening up and putting away, the job was finally finished. Wow, said Brother. That was quite a job, but it wasn't worth it. It was worth it. It looked like a whole new room, said Sister. The cups were right. Storage, stickers, tape, paste, crayons, pencils, stones, cards, magic tricks, paints, shards, feathers, string, chalk, dishes, clay, mini dolls, model kits, rocks, dinosaurs, doll clothes, paper dolls, yarn clothes, games, blocks, sports equipment, puzzles, dinosaurs. And Papa had been right too. It had so much more enjoyable to live in a neat, clean, well-organized room, and so much more relaxing. It wasn't as exciting to open the big storage closet now, but it was much more practical and a lot more fun. The end.